So, before people watching this channel start making really bad decisions using dice, I need to tell you about a few basic rules. If you're new to this channel, the idea behind it is that I often make everyday decisions by writing out 6 options and rolling a die to decide which one to follow. Now, a while ago I read a book where the main character kind of does that too, but he does it really wrong. It was a terrible book and really uninspiring, so I'm not even going to tell you what it was called. I don't want any of you reading it. But ultimately, the dude ruins his life because of his die. So I'm just going to tell you how to be the opposite of that guy and make sure that your decisions bring you joy and happiness in the long term. Basically, it all revolves around being wise in what options you include in your list before rolling the dice. So here are my 3 big rules, and I'll use some examples to illustrate how they work. 1. Sit down. What do I mean by that? Sit down with no distractions, pause for a moment, and actually get a pen and paper. You can type if you don't have pen and paper, but basically don't just think of the options in your head and keep them in your mind. My reason for that is that while you write or type your ideas, your mind will have a bit of time to tell you what's a terrible idea, and then you can cross it off. So it's basically a sanity check. So looking at my example options here, first one is eat 12 donuts. So you sit down and think about it. So maybe if you're super hungry, you'll think it's a reasonable idea, but hopefully taking that 1 minute to sit down will make you realize there's lots of other foods that you could be eating instead that would make you be not hungry anymore. Second option, start a crazy YouTube channel. Well, you sit down and yeah, why not? Next option is watching Netflix. Well, watching something on Netflix might be the right thing to do if you're wanting to relax, so why not? Next option, steal my neighbor's cat. Maybe if I really want a cat but I'm not organized enough to get my own, but stealing is illegal, so already at that stage, that should set off a few alarm bells in my mind. Final example is take the bins out. So as with most chores, your reason is unlikely to find any reasons why you shouldn't do that. So you're probably going to be fine to add it to your list. But let's continue to the second big rule, unregrettable. What do I mean by that? Well, let's think about how I will feel about this option in 10 minutes, an hour, tomorrow. Picture yourself then having done the thing and looking back on it. Will you wish you hadn't done it? Well, let's go back to all of our examples. First of all, the donuts. Me tomorrow? Oh god, no, I'll feel so sick. I can just tell I'll regret it. So that's a big no. Starting a crazy YouTube channel. It all depends, I guess. Maybe people will start trolling me and I'll get really sad about it. Maybe people at work will find out and they won't take me seriously anymore. But hopefully I won't regret it. So, why not? Next one, watching Netflix. I'll probably be glad that I chilled out and I saw some stuff online that I can discuss with my friends. So that still seems like a reasonable option I won't regret. Next, stealing my neighbor's cat. So for this one, I guess it depends once again. If my neighbor finds out, things are going to get super awkward and I might regret having that fluffy cat with me. Final one is taking the bins out. Well, it's just 5 minutes of my time, such minimal inconvenience, so I don't think I'd regret it. Now let's move on to the final rule that I have, is think of future you. We're thinking of the long-term and cumulative impact of a decision. So if you kept doing that thing over and over again, what sort of a person will you become? And is that in line with who you want to be? So once more, let's go back to our examples. Eating lots of donuts. Well, unless you're keen on having diabetes and getting a heart attack in your 40s, then that's a big fat no. Starting a YouTube channel. Well, I'd rather be someone who tries and fails things rather than never trying them. So yeah, that's something I should do. Watching Netflix. It depends how much I do this. In moderation, then I think it's fine. But if I'm just watching Netflix all day long, that's not really who I want to be. So maybe at that point I would add a condition to see how much TV I've been watching this week or this month. Next example, stealing my neighbor's cat. Well, I don't fancy going to a prison or a mental asylum for being a thief. So no, I'm not a thief and I'm not going to do that. Final example, taking the bins out. I guess I don't want to be a person who lives surrounded by my own garbage. I'm reasonably clean and tidy. So yes, I want to be someone who takes out their bin regularly. Just a side note, now that I've gone through all of these examples, this sort of relies on you being vaguely sane and not under the influence of mind-altering substances. Otherwise, you might think an option is generally great when actually it's not. So, in conclusion, if you do this test and an option that you're considering gets even just one no, then you should not include it as a possible option. It is not a good idea. So here you go, I hope this was useful advice. So roll safely and see you in the next video.